Now, if you can tell us a little bit about George Jackson and why is he important?
Well, George Jackson is the epitome of manhood. George Jackson was a brother who encouraged many other brothers behind enemy lines, the predecessors, the pre-industrial slave complex, to actually protect themselves against uh, uh, racial attacks against rape, to defend themselves. He inspired brothers to educate themselves in world history and politics so they find a place in the world where the place society exists in. And his spirit is the spirit of resistance because he continued to resist, even though he was incarcerated behind enemy lines. He continued to resist the oppression that was placed before him, and his overall idea was to push a national liberation for all people all over the world. You know what I'm saying? From his particular standpoint, through it, he also was an individual that was self-taught. He self-taught himself various forms of various languages. He self-taught himself politics, psychology. He self-taught himself a bachelor art of kung fu, which he was a martial artist. He earned the epithet on Karate Jackson, which is very inspirational for a lot of people in the 70s in the black exploitation movement. He was at the Jim Kelly and other individuals that engaged into the African martial art, the martial art themselves that were considered to be banned during a particular time during the 67 because they didn't want us to learn certain things such as self-defense and self-determination. So George Jackson is a great inspiration in regards to he inspired very collectives, cadres. He himself, the Minister Defense of the Black Panther Party, said George are the greatest white of us all. He was also inspired by George Jackson. And that's why he pursued George Jackson to be the field marshal of the Black Panther Party self-defense, which was essentially committee position. And when you look at a lot of old documents, the position is considered to be on the ground because George Jackson was on the ground. He behind enemy lines at a particular time. And some of the underground platforms, which is a guerrilla standpoint, but what was something that he specialized in, guerrilla warfare. That we always said, long live the guerrilla. And we said, and the way he said in Solitary Brother, I met the gorilla, Big J. Lewis, Tony Gibson, W. Nolan, and so forth and so on. We met the gorillas, what I'm saying, who were brothers practicing, who were studying guerrilla warfare in regard to how to particular overcome a particular oppressive struggle in North America, which is called empire. So Georgia University was named after him, and his namesake, they were continuing to work in the legacy of George Jackson by educating the mass of the people, training them, informing them about different things and about different people and different guests and different events that plague our overall new African independent movement, the Black Liberation movement, and so forth and so on. That's a university standpoint. It doesn't matter what movement we consider ourselves, call ourselves as. We all face some of the same struggles. You know what I'm saying? That relate to our common needs of food, clothing, and shelter. You can say we face some of the same things such as mass incarceration, uh, police brutality, hunger, what I'm saying, racial attacks, racial slurs, miseducation, drugs, diseases. We face some of the same adversity in every community we exist in, no matter what we refer to ourselves, what we particularly participate and adhere to or promote. We face some of the same conditions. So, in the spirit of George Jackson, what we do, we send books and publications to the printer system in regard to being Georgia University and we have a study called the markup and study group. And so we have certain requirements about each study group that people can link into on our website to www.georgiauniversity.com. And our radio show airs every Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And sometimes we have special shows geared toward different things depending on what's going on. And on this show, this Wednesday, which is the 18th, we're going to be speaking with one of the founders of Georgia University, with Abdul Lugabal Shakir, who's also a new African political prisoner. He's an author, educator, an organizer, a mentor. He had wrote various publications. He had South Baby News, which is a publication geared toward the mass incarceration been existing over 40 years. He wrote many books, many pamphlets, many designs, and the brother constantly educating himself even though he had faced over 30 some years in the SHU with special housing unit, with supplies, physical torture, mental torture, physical oppression, the deprivation of food, deprivation of sunlight, other things that plagued everybody. He survived at the SHU and came out and he educated mind of the people. So that's a little bit about our legacy. And then also what we're going to do now, what we call Ways to Go to Lamu, which is why you for Black August salutation. We're going through Black August. And George Jackson was the fourth one, the fourth, but his assassination, August 23rd, 1971. And the fourth day will return to Fleet Days, which is the first liberation expedition of Africa. And Fleet Day is a 24-hour fast that we commemorate in regard to commemorate the fallen comrade that paid the ultimate sacrifice, which is death. So in Black August right now. Black August is a time of resistance that highlight a lot of our resistance movements before. We'll go back to Nat, talk about Nat Turner, a lot of different slave rebellions, the resistance of George Jackson, resistance of Cathari Gordon, resistance of W. Nolan, Cleveland Edwards, and Alvin Big John Miller. The resistance of the August 7th Revolution from August 7th, 1970, when Jonathan Jackson Manchester went to the courtroom, American courthouse to free James McClain, William Christmas, and also Ruchell McGee, who's the only survivor, who's currently still incarcerated. He has been incarcerated for 58 years, at the longest held political prisoner in America, possibly the world. So, the Black Arts resistance entail anybody who's resisting through politics, through work, through effort, through studying, through training, through art, through music, everybody who's resisting and showing our long spirit of resistance because we were resistant. A lot of our resistance was lead to independence, such as the Haitian Revolution, you know what I'm saying? The Kenya peasant revolt, what they call it, the independence of Jamaica, the independence of Ghana, so forth and so on. So that's a resistance that we enduring right now as people, as African people, new African people, or the disaster. So the joy of the university, you know what I'm saying? We engage in different conversations and dialogue with different people, be it professors, be it psychology, be it new African political prisoners, be it the former political prisoners, former of the Black Counterparts of Defense, former of the Black Liberation Army, people actually engaged in the community, people with Lyme disease, people from street organizations, and so forth, so on, including yourself as an author, as a world traveler, as well as scholars and other individuals. So we have a very we have a broad myriad of different guests and different opinions, different ideologies that we share with the people in regards as education means. How we understand it, education for liberation. If we don't start education, what I'm saying, we feel like somebody else is going to slide. So we do our best to slide as much information as possible to be make the kind of decision in regard to what they want to do, why they want to do it, and they can have options, and they also see the information for themselves. And they also have reference points to gather information and be forward and push forward on a greater level of revolution, as well as evolution of the mind and evolve to a higher person, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, right? And be a benefit to their community as well as their family, as well as their nation.